Alright y'all, welcome back to Retro Rewire. My name is JJ, and in today's episode we're finally going to do my 2020 pickups, and it's quite a bit of stuff. And the reason for that is throughout 2020 I ended up selling off a lot of my existing video game collection, and I wanted to replace certain games with ones that were more complete or in better condition, as well as prioritize other games before they go too high up in price. But anyhow, let's get underway. I'm going to go ahead and focus on NEOGEO related goods, Sega goods, and Xbox goods in this episode. In the follow-up, I'll do PlayStation goods, and then in the final one, it'll be all about Nintendo related pickups. So let's start with hardware. The first piece of hardware that I'm going to show off is the NEOGEO Mini. Now, this was originally priced at $60 off of Amazon Japan, but I used my Amazon points, which you kind of get. They got like this little reward programs for buying select items. But after using those points, it came out to 20 bucks. Definitely worth it here for the international edition, and a nice little addition to the little mini consoles. The other mini console system that I got was the Sega Astro City Mini, which I did a video on. If you're interested, I'll leave a link in the description down below. But definitely a cool little unit full of Sega goodness. And I paid about $134 from NEOGEO, which is kind of like a GameStop equivalent here in Japan. And the bottom portion I got from Amazon Japan, and that was about 35 bucks. And it's also a piggy bank. So definitely a cool little unit, and one that I recommend if you're a die-hard Sega fan. I also got an Xbox 360 Slim, and I got one for about 35-40 bucks from a hard off. It's a system that I've been wanting to add here in my collection in Japan, just so I can get down on some Xbox action. And also I picked up a Sega Dreamcast. I ended up replacing my unit because it was yellowing. I didn't really like that, and I actually found one in the junk section for under 10 bucks, and it still held its white brilliance, and it happened to be a launch model, so it had the Yamaha drive with the metal cooling fan exhaust fan in there. Definitely a nice pickup. I also got a Sega Saturn racing wheel, which I got complete in box for under 5 bucks. It was in the junk section. I had to do a little work on it, but after kind of cleaning it out and adjusting some little things, it now works perfectly fine. So definitely a nice pickup. And then I also ended up getting a memory card for the Sega Saturn, complete in the box. Definitely a cool little pickup. I got this one from, I believe from Trader in Japan, and it was about under 10 bucks, or about 11 bucks after sales tax. But the actual box is in pretty good condition, and it's one way to secure my saves because the little batteries in the Sega Saturn tend to die quite often. But anyhow, that's pretty much the hardware for those three big manufacturers that I ended up picking up. So now let's go into the games, and we're gonna start with Xbox related games. The first one is Dead or Alive 3. I ended up paying $1 for this one. Got it from the junk section. Definitely a cool little pickup, and throughout these videos and throughout all of them, you're gonna see a lot of Dead or Alive games because I freaking love this series, and Dead or Alive 3 is no exception. Definitely a cool one. The other Xbox original game that I ended up getting is the vanilla version of Ninja Gaiden. Now this one is water damaged, which is why it was only 3 bucks. But I own the American version as well as Ninja Gaiden Black, but I don't have those here in Japan with me, and I do like replaying this game from time to time. And this one was not so much about collecting, but more about playing. So it's okay if it has some water damage. And then we have Ninja Gaiden 2. Now, I'm more familiar with Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2 because back in the day I had a PlayStation 3, but from what I've seen, this is definitely the more definitive edition, as it has gore, blood, even more so than the PlayStation 3 version. And it does away with all the extra boss fights, but in the end, it's more action-packed as there's more enemy on screen, and it's closer to Itagaki-san's final vision for the game, but definitely a cool one. And nowadays you can get it for about 5 bucks. And then the final game that I ended up getting for Xbox 360 is Ninja Blade. I haven't played this other than the initial intro sequence, but from what I played, definitely looking forward to it. My initial impressions are that no way it's better than Ninja Gaiden 2, but it's definitely, I hope it surprises me because from what I saw, it's held my interest, and I am going to be playing this one through. And it's kind of funny because the disc, as you can see, is like this black and white pressing, which a little budget, but whatever. And the Japanese copy supports full English, so definitely cool. But that's definitely, that's everything that I got for Xbox related stuff. So let's go ahead and move to Sega related games, which we'll do the Sega Saturn first. And the first one here is Deep Fear. This is a game that I originally owned way back in the late 90s. Kind of a campy game, definitely a flawed game, definitely a cool Sega game. Voice acting is terrible.
What do you mean, stuffy?
But I don't know, something about it, you know, every now and then I do play it, and because it gives me a good laugh. But you know, if you're into these old school survival horror games, I definitely recommend this one. And on the topic of survival horror, we have Biohazard, the original Resident Evil on Sega Saturn. In some ways, this one is superior to the PlayStation original, and in some ways, the PlayStation is better. But definitely one worth owning. As you can see here, I paid 11 bucks for this one. And there's nothing really that I can add to the Resident Evil conversation, as it's a classic. But we have Sega's Nights into Dreams, paid 5 bucks for this one. Definitely one of the staple games in the Saturn's 3D library. And this one actually got a remaster or a remake on PlayStation 3 and I believe Xbox 360 and Steam. So that's also worth checking out. But definitely a cool little game on the Saturn. And then we have Panzer Dragoon Zwei. Freaking love this game. On-rails shooter, has a cool story, cool music. This is one that I've been playing since its release date. So gosh, over 20 years of playing this one. Freaking love it. This one is complete with the spine card. Definitely a cool game. And again, see what I say, more Dead or Alive. This is the original version on the Sega Saturn. Definitely a cool one, and it holds up there. You know, in terms of performance, it holds up, and it pretty much gives Virtua Fighter 2 some pretty solid competition. In the end, I'm probably more of a Virtua Fighter fan, but freaking love Dead or Alive 2. And definitely one worth owning. And as you can see, paid $9.90 for this one. All right, and here we have KOF 97 on the Saturn. Definitely a decent port, and one that if you're into the KOF storyline, you know, this is the end of the Orochi saga, so definitely a cool one. Paid 14 bucks at a book off, but not my favorite KOF, but definitely a good one. And then we have World Heroes Perfect. Freaking love this game, and my love for this game mainly stems from nostalgia, as I would play this one in the arcade in the summertime. Freaking love this series, and the menu music in this game freaking bumps, and it bumps hard. Freaking World Heroes Perfect. And then we have Samurai Showdown 4, paid 24 bucks for this one. I got it at a Surugaya. Definitely a cool game. This is also available on Switch, and between the two, I would probably get the Switch version just because it's closer to the arcade. But the reason why I got this one is because it's on Saturn and because I can enjoy it on my CRT. Freaking love this version of the game. And then we have Waku Waku 7. Unfortunately, this one suffers a little bit in the performance department, and it is missing a few of the effects found in the original NEOGEO version. And this is another one that I highly recommend that you play, and it is available on the Nintendo Switch. It's a part of the Hamster's Arcade Archives, so it's definitely a lot more accessible. And this one I'm probably gonna be selling off, but mainly because I wanna get the slim jewel case version as opposed to this boxed one. I really don't like these boxed Sega Saturn games. Too big and bulky, and they get damaged. But here we have Vampire Hunter, also known as Darkstalkers. Freaking awesome game on the Saturn, and this one is actually one that's going up in price for some reason. When I first arrived in Japan, you could usually find it for about $2-3 bucks, and now it's at 8 bucks. So not a big climb, but still it went up nonetheless. And definitely a cool little art here on the spine card. Freaking love the Darkstalkers series. Love it so much that I had to get Vampire Savior, of course. This one does utilize the 4MB ramp cart, and it has some wicked animation, fast gameplay, and this is the slim jewel case version, which I prefer, and I paid 20 bucks for this one at Super Potato of all places, but definitely a cool game, highly recommended. Here's another one that requires a 4MB RAM cart and also comes in a box, but my version, thankfully, is in the slim jewel line case. And you know, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, paid 28 bucks for this. This is another classic versus game. Can't really add too much, or can't really say much that hasn't already been said, but definitely a cool one with awesome artwork. And keeping in line with the Versus series, Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter. Paid 50 bucks for this one. Freaking awesome game. I actually prefer this one over X-Men versus Street Fighter, mainly because the music in this game is freaking awesome. Freaking love it. And then we have Cyberbots. This one has freaking, look at the artwork on this thing. I got this at La Mulan for about just under 25 bucks. Freaking awesome game. This one comes in 2 flavors, this version as well as a limited edition big box version. And the interesting thing about this one, it comes in a slightly thicker jewel case, as you can see. But I don't know, the game is great. And I recommend this fighter. If you like mecha fighters, that's a great one. And here we go. We have this Street Fighter collection on the Sega Saturn. This one has a game that was not included in the Street Fighter collection on Switch, which is Street Fighter Alpha 2 Gold or Street Fighter Zero 2.1. And that happens to be one of my favorite versions of the Zero series. Freaking awesome game. I paid about 30 bucks, 28 bucks for this one, complete with the spine card at Trader in Akihabara, but definitely a cool game to have, as it also has Super Street Fighter 2 and Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Now here's an expensive one. I had to get this one because I freaking love Sword and Sorcery. It is the Dungeons and Dragons collection on the Sega Saturn. This one only supports up to 2 players, as you can see, about $108, kind of expensive, but in my opinion, worth it. It has Tower of Doom and Shadows over Mystara. Shadows over Mystara does require the 4MB RAM card. Freaking love this game. It's also available on the Wii U, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 for about $14.99. And yeah, I play this game quite often actually. Here's another classic that I freaking love, Earthworm Jim 2. Look at this freaking cover. I used to own the American version, but when I moved out here, I decided to sell that and I had to replace it. And I actually got this one from Amazon Japan off of a third-party seller for 57 bucks. Usually when you see this one in stores, it goes for well over 100, so that was definitely a nice find. Here's another one, another 2D game, 57 bucks for this Princess Crown. I first learned about this years ago off of by reading an article in Game Fan magazine. And man, I'm finally happy to own this, and I definitely want to give it a playthrough. It is all in Japanese, but the gameplay is pretty straightforward and fairly understandable. I'll have to use a guide to understand the story. But this is from a lot of the people that went on to form Vanillaware. You know, they've gone to make Dragon's Crown, Odin Sphere, Muramasa, a lot of awesome 2D games, and this one is no exception. And then we have Outrun on the Sega Saturn. Got this at a hard off for 40 bucks. And this was the main reason why I ended up getting the racing wheel. This version does support up to 60 frames per second. Definitely worth it. This is also, Outrun is also available now on the Switch, and you can't go wrong either way. Although the Switch version is available now if you have a Switch, and it's definitely a lot cheaper. And it's occasionally on sale. And Sonic Jam, freaking love this compilation of Sonic games. Believe it or not, the only Sonic game that I've beaten out of this collection is Sonic the Hedgehog, the original one. Definitely want to get down on 2, 3, and Sonic and Knuckles, but look at this freaking artwork, this design, this graphic design. It totally screams 90s. Freaking Lisa Frank type. Nah, Lisa Frank was more fantasy based, but anyhow, we have Gunbird. This one I got off of Amazon Japan from a third-party seller for about 15 bucks. It is complete with the spine card. And the main reason I got this is just for like these little extra features. The Switch version is definitely superior, definitely less expensive, although this one wasn't too expensive. But yeah, either way, you can't go wrong. Freaking awesome series. And then we have Layers section, also known as Galactic Attack, and I think it has another name. It has quite a bit of names, but it features awesome music by Zuntata. This is a classic Taito arcade game, arcade shoot 'em up. But yeah, I freaking love this. And I also have a Galactic Attack back home, but the main reason I got this, 28 bucks for this one, was because of the spine card. I'm a nerd like that. I gotta get down, get it complete. Here's another pricey one, Metal Black. I mainly got this one because of the cover art. But in playing the game, it's actually really cool. One of the little quirks about it, or one of its mechanics, is you collect like these little floating orbs, and it kind of builds up your beam cannon. And if you have enough of it charged or powered up, saved, you could have like this little Super Saiyan Kamehameha battle with the boss fights, with one of the bosses. But definitely a cool game, and I'm on the verge of beating it. I'm making it to the final level easier, but anyhow. Here we have the Thunder Force Gold Pack 2 collection. This has Thunder Force AC and Thunder Force 4. Definitely a cool one. Paid about 70 bucks, bought it off a trader in Akihabara, Japan. And when I first arrived in Japan, this was 100 bucks, but it's gone down in price mainly because, again, both of these, AC and 4, have been released on the Nintendo Switch. They're less expensive, and they're just as capable. They're freaking awesome ports. And they also give you extra options. You can play with the original slowdown or in full speed. Main reason I got this is to enjoy it on the old CRT. Freaking love gaming on a CRT. And then the final Saturn game that I got in 2020 is Gun Frontier, another shooter, kind of an expensive one too. Paid about 100 bucks in a trader. But I don't know, this one, I do like the Western cyberpunk theme. Although the Saturn version, I gotta say, a little bit disappointed. This is originally a Taito game ported over by Zing. They've done quite a bit of shooters on PlayStation and Sega Saturn alike, but it's just missing a lot of the parallax scrolling. Some sound effects are like not so good, and some animations are missing. But the core gameplay is here. Freaking awesome game, and awesome music. Definitely has some awesome music. But anyhow, let's go ahead and continue. We're gonna go ahead and do Sega Dreamcast now. And we have Virtua Fighter 3 Team Battle. Paid 3 bucks for this from Asurugaya. Freaking awesome game. Freaking love Virtua Fighter. That's another fighting series that you're gonna see throughout pretty much all the videos. And yeah, freaking love the Dreamcast version. I think this one might be a port from the original PC release and not the arcade version. And it's also the slim jewel line version, jewel case version. There's one that has like a dual case, but I don't know, I prefer this slimmer version. And again, look at this, freaking Dead or Alive 2. I'm telling you, this series, we're gonna be seeing it in pretty much all the videos I make. I freaking love Dead or Alive 2. And I do play this version from time to time, but Hardcore on the PS2 is also one that's freaking awesome, mainly because of that prairie stage. I freaking love fighting on that stage. Then we have Star Gladiator 2, originally supposed to be a Star Wars game, but Capcom wasn't able to secure the licensing for it, so they made their own thing. And this is an awesome 3D fighter. I actually prefer the first one on the PlayStation because it has the 3D backgrounds, and it originally runs based off of PlayStation arcade hardware. But still, the Dreamcast version is no slouch. It adds more fighters, it expands on the fighting system, and definitely cool. Look at this artwork. I paid about 24 bucks, and I got it in Akihabara at La Mulan. And then we have Guilty Gear X on the Dreamcast. Freaking awesome game. This one kind of changed things by going high res, 480p, that VGA goodness. And yeah, I got this off of Amazon Japan, paid about 10 bucks for it, and it includes the little sampler CD soundtrack. But look at this artwork. That's just mean, it's mean. And it's a freaking fast and awesome fighting game. And then we have Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. Not the best version, not the best home release of this arcade game, but classic nonetheless. And I've owned the Dreamcast version for many years. I have the American version, but I mainly got this one for the artwork. I know I'm crazy like that, but freaking awesome fighting game. And then we have Capcom vs. SNK. This is the vanilla version. This actually is a cool game which has a lot of unlockable stuff, and it's back in the day, you would pretty much just play the game, earn points, go in the in-game shop, and unlock all that DLC. All that extra content, but pretty cool game. And it's actually, nowadays it goes for about 5 or 10 bucks. So definitely dropped in price and definitely worth it. And then we have KOF 99 Evolution. Now this is one of my favorite King of Fighters, but this version is not. But it's still awesome version. And the only reason why I don't prefer this version is just because of the 3D backgrounds. I'd rather see the 2D sprites any day of the week. But definitely a cool one. Paid 8 bucks for this one. Then here's one, Vampire Chronicle for matching service. Paid about $22 for this one. Pretty much Darkstalkers, all sorts of stuff that's added in this version. You know, you can play in the fighting styles of the original version, Part 2, Vampire. Definitely one that's worth playing. And then we have Marvel vs. Capcom. Freaking love this game. I used to play this game so much in the arcade tilt back in the day. And man, it's freaking awesome. Paid about 18 bucks for this one. This here says that it's scratched. I don't really care, whatever. It loads fine, it plays fine, has the spine card, I'm good. But look at the cover art. Look at that. Freaking awesome. And speaking of cover art, man, oh man, Jet Grind Radio. Freaking love this game. I've beaten it many times. It's also HD remasters available on PlayStation 3, PlayStation Vita. You better get those soon before the PlayStation Store on those systems get pulled. But freaking awesome game, and no matter where you play it, you're gonna have a good time. But be warned, the only criticism I have in this game is the controls. The controls freaking suck, I never liked them. But I love the game so much that, whatever, you know, whatever. Here we go, man. Sword of the Berserk. Freaking love this game. Now this game isn't very good compared to like other action games. It isn't really good, I gotta say it, but freaking love playing it because I'm a huge Sword of the Berserk fan. And I don't know, I have the American version too, and that one touts that it's gorier, but I couldn't really tell. But freaking awesome game and highly recommended if you're into Berserk. Here's another one that most Dreamcast players and owners own, which is Code Veronica. This one is complete with the spine card, which is the main reason why I bought it. I think I paid 8 bucks for it, and it's in pretty awesome condition. And one thing that I recently learned is that Code Veronica X was released for the Dreamcast, but only in Japan. And this is, yeah, what can I say? This is one that you can't go wrong with. But it's actually not my favorite, or my favorite survival horror action whatever game for the Dreamcast. That honor goes to D2. Freaking love this game, man. This game deserves a remake. Warp deserves it. Kenji Eno, the late Kenji Eno deserves it. May he rest in peace. Freaking awesome game. Now this one had multiple releases, as you can see in Japan. Different covers, different variants. There's a total of 4. This one $3.30, this one $6.80. It's a fairly inexpensive game, which is crazy, but let me just show you the backside. Freaking awesome game. If you haven't played this, you owe it to yourself. I also own the American version, but that version is censored, unfortunately, and this one is fully uncensored and ready to go. Freaking love this game. But it is crazy. It is a crazy game. Then we have Sega Rally 2. Freaking love the Sega Rally series. This version is ported from the PC version, and it does suffer a little bit in the frame rate, but man, this game is awesome. As far as arcade racing goes, you cannot go wrong with this version. And $3 for it. Not bad. And then the final game is gonna be Virtua Striker 2, 2000.1. I freaking love this game. This is arcade sports games at their finest. It's so funny too, because when you score like an awesome goal, it just like this replay, and it has like this little rainbow kind of trailing the ball. But this one, I played hours and hours of, you know, especially against like other players, but freaking love this game and I highly recommend it. In fact, in Ikebukuro at the Super Potato, they have tons of sealed copies for under 5 bucks. So if you want one, definitely get it. But guys, anyhow, that wraps up the first video. In the next video, I'm gonna focus on all my PlayStation related purchases. And then in the final video, we'll focus on Nintendo stuff. But anyhow, thank you for sticking around this long. My name is JJ. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you all very, very soon. Ciao. Stop. Continuing with hardware, I also got the Xbox, let me just start over.